Welcome you all in EPG Pathshala. Myself Dr. Muhammad Nazrul Bari, associated with Department of History, Central University of Karnataka. The module which we are going to discuss it today is about food and beverages from 13th to 18th century. With the coming of Islam and coming of establishment of a Muslim rule in India, the food habit of the people got changed, and there was an interaction between both the religious belief and their food habits that reflect in their food habits also. For this module, we have certain objectives which we will discuss later on. We will discuss one by one in detail. The learning objectives of this module is to know the food habits of the people during medieval India, to find out the utensil and table manners of the people. Third, to understand the popular drink and its use. Next, to analyze the contribution of outsider in the introduction of new dishes, fruits, food and other items of daily use. And last, to have an idea of prices of various food items during medieval India. Every human being, they need three important things. First is food, second is cloth, and third is shelter. So that three thing was in great demand since people started settled life during prehistoric days. Now, once they establish a settled life, they start testing the number of things and they get habitual of it. And on the basis of their liking and disliking, they developed a food in their daily life. Toward the first millennium AD, we find several texts and commentaries across the country that talk about food habits of local people and their kings. A meal was now expected to have 6 components of quality and taste, and they are as following. Madhura, that must be sweet, and to make it sweet, there was a system during medieval period. They used to add juice that was made of sugar cane. Similarly, the next one was amla, that was sour. Lavana, that was salty. Fourth was kata, that was pungent, that must be a strong taste and a smell. Tiktha, or that what we call it tikha. In North India, that must be bitter. And kasaya, that is a taste which can be translated into English as astringent, which means contraction of skin cell and other body tissues. The taste which once you will have, that will reach to your skin and mind and the other body tissues. Now, in this subsection, we are going to discuss about the popular food items which people had during medieval India, and about them we have the literary references from Sanskrit as well as Persian literature which are available to us during medieval age in India. Rice, which was one of the important item of food that was mainly popular in the coastal area, as noticed by Ibn Battuta, is said to be of as many as 21 kind of rice. Other cereals were peas, lentils, mash, lobia and sesame. Abul Fazl, who wrote Aine Akbari and was a great friend of Akbar, the Mughal ruler, what he said, there was 41 types of crop were cultivated per year at the time of Akbar. The chief variety of rice was kur and shali. The special quality of rice, that was shali rice, which ripen quickly, is pleasant to taste and it smells fragrantly. It is harvested in Shravani, or that what we call it July-August month. Munji rice was highly prized and chiefly grown in Agra province. Here it's interesting to note that the Sali rice, that was a rice which was popular during ancient period also, and we do have the reference of Sali rice in Buddhist as well as the Sanskrit literature of the first millennium BC. The next food item was wheat. Wheat was mainly grown in the region of Agra, Allahabad, Awadh, Delhi, Lahore, Multan, Malwa, Ajmer, Kabul and Kandhar Sarkar. Whereas Kabul and Kandhar were also known for a special variety of crops. In the view of Trevenier, who was a traveler during Mughal period, what he said, Mughal territory were well manured and well irrigated. Wheat was found in plenty from Surat to Baroda. Thomas Roe, who visited to the Mughal court when Jahangir was the Mughal emperor, what he said, he has witnessed 10,000 bullocks loaded with wheat near Behrampur. So that 10,000 bullocks loaded with wheat, that also give an idea about the flourishing trade during the time of Mughal. Now the next one was millet, jawar or pulses. Millet was one of the cheapest grains which grew in the region of poor soil and deficient rainfall, mainly in the region from Surat and Bharuch. Jawar was grown mainly in the region of Malwa, Gujarat, Ajmer, Delhi, Lahore, Agra, Allahabad and Multan. Pulses, a rich source of protein, formed one of the major food for the people of medieval India. Manuri tribe were those who engaged themselves in the transport of pulses in the Deccan. The chief pulses grown were moong, moth, mash, etc. that too in a Ottoman. Now the sugar cane, about which we have the reference in ancient period, was one of the important items which was cultivated during medieval India. It was a rich source of sugar. It grows well in tropical season, requiring abundant heat and exceeding moist soil. Juice obtained from sugar cane by crushing it in between the heavy rollers, and then sugar is obtained by evaporated and crystallization. During Akbar rule, there is a reference that Bengal was first in sugar production, and whatever the requirement of sugar was there during medieval period, most of the requirement was fulfilled by Bengal province. Spices, which was one of the item for which India was known to the other part of the world, and traders, they used to come from other part of world and they purchase that spices from India and sell it to the respective nation. So spices form the major part of the crops of the medieval India. Cardamom, ginger, pepper, nutmegs, cloves, cinnamon were the major spices. Cardamom was grown in Bijapur and ginger in whole of Mughal domination or Mughal territory. However, ginger was brought from Ahmedabad was famous during Mughal period. Pepper was brought from Bijapur. Other spices of note during this period are cumin seed, turmeric, coriander, cloves, apatica, etc. Saffron, what we call it today, that was produced mainly in Kashmir during medieval period, and even today Kashmir is known for saffron production. Food for common people. There was a variety of food which was mainly popular among the common people because of their limited economic resources, and while there was a food, different kind of food which was popular among the ruling class or the rich class. So we will focus on the food which was generally available for the common people. Wheat bread, baked or fried, was eaten with dal, meat and vegetable curries. Chapatis were cooked in tandoors. Even now, common in Punjab and open oven, that what we call it in North India, chulha, common all over India. Other dishes which were common among rich were curd, khajur, meat soup, paratha, halwa, haris, whereas khichdi and sattu, that was the food of the common people or the poor people. Khichdi, that is made with the rice or some kind of pulses, and then the salt will be added into it and water will be added into it, and then it will be more like in a liquid form. While sattu was basically the powder that come with the corn and gram, and that people used to eat after adding salt into it. Vegetarian food and pickles. Of the vegetable with a specific mention were cucumber, pumpkin, various kind of sag, karela, bitter gourd, turnip, carrot, asparagus, ginger, garden beet, onion, garlic, fennel and thyme. That was the vegetables which was popular among the people who were from the vegetarian category. Vegetables were cooked and fried with various kind of masalas or spices, butter, and if the spices were not enough to wipe out the action of the stomach, a great number of pickles or achar were used. Tamarind was also commonly used and grown in abundance during medieval period. Pickles were prepared of green mango, marrow-melon, lime, ginger, lemon and other citrus fruit, bamboo sprout and it was preserved for the longer period of time. According to Nala Champu, pickle of green and raw bilva or bale, ambet, chelakai, green mango, green pepper, raw ginger, raw cardamom, and myrobalan were in practice during medieval period. Ibn Battuta was a traveler from Morocco who visited different part of India. He was a great fan of pickles, and what he said, pickle was popular almost every part of India, in irrespective of the religious ideology of the people, irrespective of the class and caste. Ejaz Khusravi of Amir Khusru and Kitabur Rehla of Ibn Battuta are the full of reference of these relishes without which Indian meals then as now are never completed. Even today in 21st century, the people are living in the age of communication where revolution in the information has already been taken place. But the importance of pickle is not yet come down. Every household, either rich or poor, Hindu, Muslim or whatever religious belief they had, they used to have a achar or pickles at their kitchen. Now here we will focus about the dessert which people had during medieval period after having their lunch or dinner. The dessert consisted of sweets, fresh and dry fruits. Dry fruits were mostly imported and so were apples, grapes, pears and pomegranates. Melon, green and yellow, that what we call it tarbooj or kharbuza, were grown in abundance. Orange, citron, lemon, lime, and figs were also commonly known to the people during medieval period. Sugarcane, referred to as Ponda by Ziauddin Barni, the author of Tarikh Firoz Shahi, was also grown in abundance. Mango, then as now, was the most favorite fruit of India, and much praise is bestowed by Hassan Sizzi on the mango of Badain. Here I wanted to make you clear that fruits, what we have mentioned, that was not available for the common people because of their limited economic resources. That was mainly for the economically rich or the ruling class who can afford it because it was costly during medieval period. In southern part of India, coconut was mainly popular. Ibn Battuta records that this coconut honey was of great utility and was purchased by Indians, Yemeni and Chinese merchants who transported it to the other country for preparing halwa. Ibn Battuta also observed that methods of extracting milk from coconut and its extensive use of the coastal people during medieval age. Gajar halwa, which was introduced during medieval India, was one of the popular and the dessert among the rich people and the ruling class of India. That was made with the help of ghee and milk and sugar. Here there is a reference of seasonal food, which food may be good for which season. So there is a lot of references in the indigenous literature or the literature which was written in Persian text, which focus mainly or advise to the people what kind of food, which type of food is suitable for which particular season. Literature of the period recommend that sweet, bitter and astringent food for the autumn season, while sweet, salty and sour dishes for winter season and rainy season, pungent and astringent variety during spring and light food in summer. Further, it elaborates that in winter one should take fresh food, preparation of milk, pulses and sugar cane, curd and things prepared with ghee, oil too is beneficial. In spring, one should avoid heavy, cold and sweet dishes and use little ghee. On hot day, one should take sali rice, moong soup, ghee with preparation of lotus stalks, fresh shoots and bulbs, fried barley, flour, sharbat, curds mixed with sugar and spices, coconut milk and water or milk with plenty of sugar. That was recommended by the scholars who talk about the food, who have written about the food during medieval period. Even today, during summer season, we prefer to have a something that is made with liquid, or we take more liquid just to survive in the summer season. The same kind of instruction is given in the medieval literature also, to have a less food during summer season. In the rainy season, the food should be dry, light, oily and warm, Preparation of old sali rice, wheat and barley should be taken as it was suggested by the authors. In the Ottoman, diet should consist of ghee, moong, wheat flour, milk product, patola, that was spices of cucumber, grapes, amalki, fruit, sugar, sweet bulbs and green. The Mona Solosa also holds similar view and advised the king to take stringent dishes in spring, sweet and cooling in summer, salted in rainy season, sweet, oily and hot during autumn and hot and sour in winter. This ensure quicker metabolism of the food along with the changing season. Now, after food, we will focus on drink and beverages, which was popular during medieval period and about which we do have a literary evidences. Okay, which kind of drink and how, what, through which, what was the meaning and what time it was preferred. And so in the category of food and beverages, fresh water that was needed for every human being to survive. So fresh water was one of the chief drink of the people. Somadeva discusses prosperity of properties. Somadeva discusses properties of fresh water in details, stating that it is amrit or nectar when properly used, but vish or poison otherwise. If it will not be used in a proper way, then it may be a wish or poison for the human health. Mana Solasa mentioned water from various sources and recommend water from rains, rivers, spring, tanks and lakes for daily use, and after it is boiled and it is filtered through a clean white cloth. This is the same method we still used in the rural area to make our water clean and pure. In city it's okay, we can get the RO, we can get the bottle that is filled with different companies, but in our rural area or the village area still people do prefer the age old practices which was continued during medieval period to make the water pure. It further recommend that adding to drink water by adding pieces of mango, patala and champaka flowers, powder of cloves, kapoor, sandalwood and purifying it with triphala, that was good for health. Water exposed to rays of sun and moon was not to be used at night and vice versa as it was suggested. Different types of water were prescribed for different seasons. Rainwater for autumn, water from tanks and lakes for winter, pool water for spring water for summer, and underground water for rainy season. This was the suggestion made by the people who wrote about the food practices during medieval period. The king was advised to sip water very often during a meal as this impart taste to the food and help in digestion. Leather bags and earthen pot were recommended. Lok Pakara described a sharbat or juice prepared from the fruit like juzubi, merobolan, pomegranate, tamarind, and citron to quench thirst. Mona Solasa also lists panakas prepared from different fruits and explain the modes of preparing them. For obtaining an excellent panaka, sour juice was added to milk. The liquid part of we was strained through a cloth, and this liquid was mixed with some juice of ripe tamarind fruit. Fresh coconut water was also maintained as a tasty drink. Ibn Battuta greatly relished it, and he writes that coconut tree is one of the most wonderful tree in India. One of the marvel about its nut is that if cut while yet green, one could drink its highly delicious and cool water, which generate heat and act as an aphrodisiac. Parasanath Puran adds that cooling orange juice and sugar cane juice is in the list of cold drink. On festive occasion or celebration, Sultan used to arrange free distribution of sweets and sharbat among the people. Wine, prohibited by religion and disapproved by all, was drunk freely by those who like it. Even Alauddin, who undertook severe measures to prohibit wine, never gave it up himself. During medieval period or ancient period, there was a system people used to have a wine, but it was mainly popular among the ruling class, not in the common people. While we have discussed about the food items, now table manner, that was one of the important feature of the food and beverages here in our module. Okay, what are the things which people are expected if they are sitting on a dinner or a lunch in a group? Muslim used to dine together, often from the same plate, always on the same board, that was known as the sarkhan. For this reason, it was particularly necessary for a Muslim to possess good table manner. Sheikh Nizamuddin Aulia gave a long discourse to his disciples about the observing good manners while eating. The custom also certainly developed feeling of brotherhood and equality among the Muslim, and maybe because of that the system of Dastarkhan was invented and Muslim do follow it. The practice of interdining by Muslim was neither liked nor practiced by the Hindus. Vidyapati mentioned with contempt how Sayyid and Fakirs and women of easy virtue dined together. The mode of serving and eating was common to the poor and rich except in quality and number of sources. According to Someshwara, rice with moong soup and ghee was served first, followed by meat and vegetable preparation, and then sweet dishes, payasa and fruit. Panaka and buttermilk were sipped and sikharni relished during meals. Vatakas or badi, papad, fish preserve and pickles were served as a side dishes. The last course consisted of rice and buttermilk with a little salt. These apply to public dinners of all classes except the very poor, and to some castes the courses would be sense, meat and fish. The meal was rounded off with kushan or curded milk. The food habit of the aristocracy followed a regional pattern except for the religious taboo. There was no marked difference between the Hindu and Muslim repasts. The Nala Champu gives vivid description of a wedding feast of or Buvaduta with all its regal magnificence. Marco Polo, who visited India, he also observed that native of the south did not use spoon or platters but spread their victual upon huge dried plantain leaves. He further noticed that men and women washed their body twice a day before meal and used only the right hand for eating. I have seen, as it was said by Al-Biruni, Brahmins who allowed their relative to eat with them from a same plate, but most of them disapproved of this. A special care had to be observed in eating and drinking. Every Brahmin was required to have his separate drinking vessels and eating utensil. If another man used them, then it was broken. If these circumstances interdining was out of question, the practice of Brahmins has permitted into other castes also. Now, in the category of table manner, what we have discussed, there was a system which food will be served first, what next, and what will be the last food or the last item which will be served on the table before the guest. And the food, the etiquette and manner of table, that is more in practice during the ruling class, mainly among the ruling class. Now we will discuss here food, shelter and water for the travelers. See, we have the evidence lot of travelers keep coming to India and they have a given good records. They have noticed a number of good things which they have mentioned in their text and manuscript, which are available to us here and there. So there was an arrangement for travelers. If they are moving from one place to the another place, so they may get food on a time, they may get a place to rest, they may get water to drink. So Ibn Battuta has given a wonderful description about the arrangement which was made for the traveler. To provide shelter, food and water to traveler was considered a meritorious act. Ibn Battuta saw excellent arrangement for traveling from Hinavar or Honover to the Malabar coast. The supervision of watershed was entrusted to an infidels who used to provide drinking water to Hindus and Muslims alike, but he poured water into hands of later from the distance. As we do use glass for the drinking purposes, that time system of glass was not there, and the fellow who was appointed to give water, he used to have water in a leather bag, and he used to pour from up, while the people, they will have to fold their hand like this, and then they will have to drink with the same water. Food was served on a plantain leaves and soup was poured on it. The leftovers were eaten by dogs and birds. Inscription and literary evidences on commemorate construction of eating houses and water houses built on a different highways. Here it's interesting to note when Ibn Battuta is visiting to the southern part of India, he make mention about the plate which was made of the leaves, and that type of leaves still continue in 21st century. People prefer to eat on a leaves than the plate in the age of revolution. Here, related with the food and food habits, there is a one subsection that we call it utensil and other accessories, which was used for the purpose of storing the food, serving the food at the time of dinner or lunch. The poor people generally used earthen vessels that was made of terracottas. Literature of period recommend an earthen pot for preparing marrow soup and hot earthen pan for frying. Chavundaraya mentioned a wooden vessels and metal in medieval Karnataka. Different types of copper and brass utensils were also employed to cook, store and serve various kind of foods. Coastal Muslim mostly used copper vessels. Hindu in South India mainly used plantain leaves and leaf bowls for eating purposes. Now, rich had silver bowl and plates. Special types of bowls were used for drinking. That was mainly popular among the rich class. According to Marco Polo, care was taken not to touch the vessels with the lips while drinking liquids. Still today, people prefer to drink, not to touch with their lips to the glass. They they try to put it from the little distance to water in their mouth, which was already noticed by Marco Polo. Kings and nobles sit on a raised seat. Food was brought and served in a steel, porcelain, silver, or gold vessels, plates, and bowls. Nunes observed that kings were served food in large and small vessels made of gold set with precious stones. That gold and silver that was available in a huge quantity to the king or the ruling class, so it was not a problem for them to have a plate made of gold or silver. While the poor people, they prefer to have the plate which was made of terracotta. Brahma Siva, a Jain poet, condemned the dining habit of Brahmins by pointing out that they were bundled their dhotis and footwear and kept them under the seat and ate the leftover from one another plates. This statement might be based on a limited observation of the poorer section of Brahmins attending a wedding feast or a community dinner. After completion of meal, thali and lota were brought for washing hand. Grata flour seems to have been used for soap, as we use the different soap or the liquid for washing the dishes. Afterwards, pan, as liked by all known as a tambul in Sanskrit, term was served. People used to take oath and promises their word of honor by accepting pan. The pan was the system which we do have a reference in medieval period, that was popular among a particular class of society, those who are economically rich, politically affluent, and that place of pan has been taken now by gutka in Indian society. Price of the food commodities, that we do have a reference in medieval literature, ki how the prices, how the foods item was available into the market, and that too on what prices. Food was extremely cheap as reflected through the literary sources. Zawdin Barni praised the cheapness of price in his times, giving prices of various articles of food as the prices prevailing in the time of Firoz Tughlaq were not unfavorable. Abdullah, author of Tarikh-e Dawoodi, also bear witness to the extreme cheapness of prices during the reign of Lodi rulers. Foreigners too were struck by the cheapness of prices in medieval India. Khojandi has been cited in Masalikul Afsar as saying, "I and my three friends ate beef, bread and melted butter for one jital in some places in Delhi till we were satisfied. During Balban days, baked bread was sold on 2 seers for a jital. Now, here we will discuss how the food habits of the people got changed and what were the influence of the Muslim ruler who established their dynasty in 13th century North India and how the existing food habits got affected by it. Potatoes that was introduced by Dutch in India during medieval period. Similarly, red chili arrived in India by Portuguese traders during the 16th century, replacing pipalli. That pipalli was used previously before red chili. Samosa was first brought to Indian subcontinent in 13th and 14th century by Iranian traders. Samosa which we have today that is mainly available in veg, while originally when it was brought by the Muslim rulers in India and the Muslim intellectuals in India, it was mainly made of mutton, and it was mutton which was filled inside and fried. But now samosa is Indianized. We start putting the veg inside, that is potato inside, and eating it. Tobacco was first brought to India by Portuguese merchant. Rajma or red kidney bean was brought to the Indian subcontinent from central Mexico and Guatemala. Coffee, as per the record of coffee beans, was introduced by Baba Budan of Yemen to the hills of Chikmagalur in 1670. Similarly, biryani is a Muslim rice dish introduced during the Delhi Sultanate only. Next slide, we are going to discuss about the important food items with their specific name which was introduced during medieval period, and they were mainly in a non-veg form. Gajar ka halwa was first introduced during medieval period, as we told, with the help of sugar, milk, ghee, and the carrot. People of India now do prepare gajar ka halwa, that is one of the most delicious sweet dish we have in India. Other dishes include kachri keema, halim, Mughlai chicken biryani, Mughlai paratha, keema matar, meat darbari, Mughlai chicken pulao, murg kebab, Mughlai, murg noor jahani, murg musallam, kofta shorba, nargisi kofta, murg chap, रेशमी kebab, boti kebab, Shahjahani murg masala, pasanda, rezala. There are a good number of dishes, mainly in a non-veg category, was introduced by the Muslims during medieval period. In this category of sweet dish, Mughal introduced kulfi, shahi tukda, sheer korma, faluda, kesri firni in the category of dessert that is still popular in every part of India, irrespective of the religious and regional background of the people. Now, here we will summarize the modules. In short, we find that the medieval era was a period of innovation in the area of new items of food, including rulers, nobles, traders from Central Asia, Afghanistan, Arab, Persia, and travelers from China, Tibet, and other neighboring countries have put forth their contribution and enriched the medieval era in Indian food. In short, what we discuss in this module that related with food and beverages of medieval India, we talk about the popular food items that was common among the ruling class, the items of food which was common among the lower section of the society, the people had a lower economy in lower economic conditions. Then we discuss about what were the impact of the Muslim rule and how the impact of the Muslim rule influenced the food habit of the people, and that too in a non-vegetarian category. Here we have also discussed that there was a section among the Hindus, mainly the Jain and Brahmins, they not to prefer onion, ginger and garlic in their food because they do have certain objection on this items in the food. And still in 21st century, there are good number of people in that particular section only, Brahmins and Jains, they don't prefer to use garlic and ginger, sometime onion. We have also discussed in this module what were the etiquettes and manners which people used to expect at the time of gathering when there was a food was served, how the people are supposed to behave. Here we have focused also discuss about what we call it utensil and the pottery which was used by the common people, and then the pottery which was used by the ruling class or the elite section of the society or the people who are economically rich. Interestingly, we have noticed that was mentioned by Marco Polo and Ibn Battuta that most of during their visit in southern part of India, they have make mention that people in South India they prefer to eat on leaves. They have make mention in 13th and 14th century, while still in 21st century, whenever we do visit to a restaurant in southern India, we do find that the practices which was continued since ancient age, it is still we can find it in the restaurant and the houses of South Indian people. That is interesting to note. Now we have also discussed about the number of items in dessert and as well as in the main course, mainly related with non-veg, that was introduced with the establishment of Muslim rule in India. For more detail, you are advised to visit the e-text that is available on EPG Pathshala website and the reference book which is already listed on the website. Thank you very much.